Have you guys seen the Avengers? The Avengers have been coming out for about 8 years, and I love this series. I think they're everything a summer blockbuster should be. To me, they go right up there with Star Wars and Lord of the Rings. But that's not to say I don't have my gripes about them, or I don't think that there are things that they could have changed. Since we're all stuck inside due to the 2020 pandemic, I haven't seen my friends in weeks. It seemed like a good a time as any to talk about some of this stuff. So here we go.
The movie starts with this little intro where some vague threats are set up, and we're introduced to the Chitauri. They're an alien race from Marvel Comics around 2002. In this movie, they're not really characterized. We're just supposed to understand that they're like scary aliens. Someone says the humans will burn, and then the movie kind of starts. The first proper scene is Nick Fury arriving at this like secret SHIELD laboratory. The dialogue is pretty generic.
What's the status?
Our stuff is happening.
Give me the situation report.
Oh, it's real bad. They're talking about this cosmic cube that the scientists are studying. This little lab scene is where we're introduced to our first hero, Hawkeye. Hawkeye is guarding this little group of scientists for Nick Fury, and he's like spying on them from up in the rafters. I don't know if this is procedure. I suspect they put him up there just so one of the scientists can call him the Hawk, because like birds hang out in nests. And he's old bird eyes. There's a scene way later in the movie that's a callback to this where he like wants to get up high because he sees better from a distance. But like, doesn't everybody? And they never bring this up again in any of the other movies. There's never a scene with Ultron where he's like, oh, I gotta get up in my nest. And he gets a jump on Ultron. Oh, gotcha. No, he doesn't do that. So everybody's trying to figure out what this cosmic cube does. The scientists say it's an energy source, but it's also kind of alive. If the scientists didn't know what the cube did, why did they build this like Stargate ramp that perfectly fits the portal that appears? I don't know. Hawkeye seems to know more than the scientists know about it. He's like, no, it's a doorway. Doors swing both ways. And then right on cue, it like explodes. Oh, we get some cool special effects, and here comes our main villain. It's Loki. Loki looks terrible. I guess he's been on the run since he fell off the Rainbow Bridge in Thor 1. He's probably doing space heroin or something. Anyway, his hair's all greasy, and he starts jumping around throwing knives at people. And then he starts poking people with his spear. This is some top-tier space magic right here. You got this magical infinity gem, and you duct tape it to the end of a stick and start poking people with it. Sorry, you don't find out about that until later. Anyway, Loki hypnotizes Hawkeye through magic pokery, and him and some hypnotized scientists shoot their way out and steal the cube. Why does Hawkeye pose like this when he's shooting a pistol? Does he not know how to shoot a pistol? So anyway, next is this like Universal Studios ride, where Loki's riding in the back of a pickup truck. I guess his space armor is too big for him to get in the truck. Huh, I never thought about that. He's like Bigfoot. It would have been funny if they had him sit inside, his head bent the top of the truck like Harry and the Hendersons. So anyway, Loki breaks Nick Fury's helicopter and drives off with the cube and the spear. They're all standing around. What are we gonna do? Hello? Hello? What are we gonna do? He's not answering because he's waiting for the title card to come up. It's the Avengers. We're gonna do the Avengers. The next scene is badass. This is where we're introduced to Black Widow. She'd been in the previous Iron Man movies as a bit character, but here we get to see her as a solo hero for the first time. She's tied up to a chair doing some kind of spy work. I bet she just came from the opera or something. That's where spy hijinks take place, right? And at first we think she's being tortured, but it turns out she's kind of playing mind games with the main guy. The way she springs a trap and escapes is super cool too. I heard somewhere that they use Mexican luchador wrestling as inspiration for Black Widow's style. It's got lots of flips and holds. It looks really slick. After the fight, you see this little flashback footage of Hawkeye and Black Widow fighting together. Who are they shooting at? I guess Hawkeye really is committed to the bow and arrow thing. Anyway, she gets on the phone, and they're like, we're putting the Avengers together. You gotta invite the Hulk. And she's like, oh no. Because Hulk's hanging out in a shitty neighborhood, and he's helping to tend to the poor. Because he's the Hulk. He's not a mean guy, but sometimes he's a mean guy. I don't know why every other Avengers character gets to be either totally not freaked out by the Hulk, or just spoiling for a fight. Why is Black Widow the only one who has to be afraid of him? I expect it's because she's the girl, and they wrote her as the girl. After that, Nick Fury checks in with this shadowy group of figures that rule the world, I guess. Is this the Illuminati? And then he goes and gets Captain America. I like Captain America. He's like Superman. He's pretty one-dimensional, but his dimensions are good. Truth and justice and being good to your fellow man. And to be fair, he's starting to develop as a character here. You see that he's tortured from the events of the first Captain America movie, that he's a man out of time. Nick Fury's like, we gotta go save the world. Okay, and here's where we get our next character intro. Iron Man. Iron Man's doing something that looks super illegal in the New York utility system, but it's okay because he's flying around and his suits are still real cool. I kind of hate what they did to Pepper Potts. She's way more complex in the comics, and I know they can't fit everything in, but in this movie she's just kind of reduced to Tony Stark's Daisy Duke wearing girlfriend. Even in the movies, she's been the head of major corporations by this point, and the chemistry between Robert Downey Jr. and Gwyneth Paltrow in the first Iron Man movie was so good. I feel like they never quite regained that, and the relationship just ends up getting hokier and hokier. Pepper's only in one other scene in the movie later on where she's just on camera worrying about Tony. Now that we've introduced all the characters, it's time for the Avengers to assemble. But not yet. First we get this dumb scene where Cap is looking at video footage of the Hulk. Like, we know who the Hulk is. I'm sure this is just trying to set up the character for people who are new to the series, which is fine, but it's clumsily done. This whole scene feels awkward, and I get that they're trying to make Agent Coulson here out to be an awkward fanboy about Captain America, but it just makes the whole scene uncomfortable. While Cap's on his way, we go back to Loki, and they show him Skyping with this alien guy that he apparently works for. This guy's got too many thumbs. Come on, this is the best idea for an alien overlord you could think of. What is this, Doctor Who? Now that we've introduced all our characters and set up the main bad guys, it's time to head into Act 2. This scene is actually pretty cool. You get this awkward interaction between Bruce Banner and Captain America. Black Widow is there too, and it's obvious that the characters don't really know each other yet. The scene also reveals that the helicarrier is really a helicarrier, and we're gonna fly around like crazy people looking for bad guys to beat up. Nick Fury's captain spot, like the spot where he stands, is kind of ridiculous. Get him a chair. I feel like they wanted to go halfway between Star Trek Captain's chair and Imperial Star Destroyer, where it's just a long walkway leading to some windows, and they kind of split the difference. Anyway, the camera work in the scene puts me to sleep. Though I do like this one shot where you can see Black Widow check on the status of the search for the mind-controlled Hawkeye. Oh, it's only 15% done, because they haven't found him yet. It's because he's being mind-controlled and hanging out with Loki. Oh, this bow is so dumb. The next story beat takes place at a German auction house, and the transition comes with this weird shift in tone, where all the soundtrack drops away and they just do classical music over Captain America getting suited up for battle. I don't really get it. Maybe it's because Captain America has traditional values and they're trying to do something classical. Maybe they don't think the audience will grasp that this is a fancy location unless they play classy music at us. I guess it's a good juxtaposition for when Iron Man shows up and he starts blasting AC/DC. Before that happens, Hawkeye and Loki do some evil stuff. And Captain America jumps in and saves a civilian and makes a reference to punching Hitler. At least I think it's a reference to that. He talks about being in Germany and standing up to a guy that's standing above everyone else. So it could just as easily be the Red Skull. But I choose to believe this is a reference to an adventure we saw in the comics where Captain America traveled to Berlin during Nazi occupation in World War II and punched Adolf Hitler in the face. I don't know, that line just gave me a little fanboy giggle. Iron Man and Captain America apprehend Loki and they're taking them back to the helicarrier when Thor shows up.
Stay out of this is God stuff.
Thor and Loki have a little catch-up on a mountainside, and then Iron Man and Thor fight. This movie's just at its best when it's doing superhero stuff like this. Maybe it's just as simple as I think explosions and superheroes are cool. That's a definite possibility. In between the fighting, Tony quips that Thor sounds like he's doing Shakespeare in the Park. I want to call attention to this because in the comics, Thor always talks like this. In the comics, his speech is actually in a different typeface from all the other characters because he talks in this old English Asgardian way. They sort of phase it out over the course of the movies, but I didn't realize I kind of missed it until I rewatched this first one. Anyway, Thor and Captain America do this, and then that seems to settle the argument. They dive back to the helicarrier and they stuff Loki in this big can, but not before he makes moony eyes at Dr. Banner. And there's another couple of scenes where everybody talks. I'm not against dialogue in superhero movies, but it's just presented in a very boring way. A lot of the shots aboard the helicarrier are kind of uncreative, just sort of your standard TV camera placement, and it gets kind of tedious when it goes on for 10 or 15 minutes. If you've seen the movie before, you've probably forgotten about this twist where S.H.I.E.L.D. was going to make weapons of mass destruction, because again, it's not really presented in an interesting way, and it's distracting from the focus of the main bad guys. I guess they're trying to show that S.H.I.E.L.D. is a fallible government entity made up of people who are scared and trying to adapt to the real threat of superheroes. But God, just get on with it. The interesting scene in here is with Black Widow. She talks with Loki one-on-one and makes herself out to be a damsel in distress, but then turns out to be manipulating the guy the whole time. She's a good spy. She figures out Loki's plan and tells the others just in time for another cool action sequence. We're hypnotized Hawkeye, I'm gonna call him Hypno Hawkeye, and a bunch of Loki's goons storm the helicarrier. It's a rallying cry, all the Avengers snap out of the snarky fight they're having and jump back into being superheroes. While Captain America and Iron Man are jumping around doing cool stuff, Black Widow has this little horror scene where she's trapped with the Hulk inside the ship. I think the scene is really cool. The CG on Hulk is top notch. The animators and designers really paid attention to the physics in this scene. It makes the Hulk look like he can rip through metal like tissue paper. And that's not just to say they showed him ripping metal. There's a lot of quick cuts and creative shots. It reminds you of the scarier sequences in movies like Jurassic Park. Hulk's about to give Black Widow the old Ike Turner when Thor shows up and saves her, leading to an extremely nifty strong guy fight between Hulk and Thor. We get to see Mjolnir's magic powers. Nick Fury and Kobe Smulders get to be cool S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. Iron Man shoots some crowd-pleasing lasers, and Hawkeye shoots a hacking arrow. What the heck kind of computer port is this? Is this Unix? Somebody tell me if this is Unix. Anyway, I guess the hacking arrow opens Loki's can, and he gets out of there somehow. I guess he goes back in and recloses the door to do this illusion thing. Anyway, that keeps Thor pretty busy, and there's this really cool scene where he's falling and tumbling out of control. See, the camera work here is interesting. It makes you feel like you're in there with him, bouncing around with no sense of direction. Captain America fights some bad guys, Hulk fights a plane, and in the course of Loki escaping, he kills fanboy Agent Coulson. The movie hits you over the head with what a sad beat this is, and I guess it works pretty well. Pretty soon, everybody's back to sitting and talking. Talk. A couple of extra shots of the team regrouping, and having these moments of doubt. But it was all part of Nick Fury's plan to unite them as a team or something. And they head off toward Act 3. Hulk ends up lying in a warehouse with Harry Dean Stanton. I love this guy. If you don't know Harry Dean Stanton, he's an old American actor who was an alien. And he's the real-life inspiration for Beaker from the Muppets. Not really, I just think he's cool. And his cameo in the movie's neat. He makes an inference to Hulk's penis. The big climax penis joke of the movie takes place in New York City. It's your typical sci-fi giant portal over a major city with optional alien invasion package. Bonus generic points for holding this in New York City. But I'm snarky because I care, and there's a lot of cool stuff at the climax of the movie. But first, some more snarks. Like Iron Man dropping the movie title in this pre-battle conversation with Loki. It's just so forced. He says if we can't save the world, you could be damn sure we'll avenge it. Wait, you guys aren't going to save the world? It's kind of a dark thought just to wedge the movie title in there. Sure, some civilians are probably going to get killed. Honestly, I think we're going to fail, but we'll get you on the rebound. Captain America bossing the cops around is a little cringy. Why should we listen to you? What? I hit him. Oh, he's pretty good at fighting. I guess we should do what he says. Banner shows up on this little bike to join the rest of the Avengers. The whole movie they've been asking him, how do you keep the Hulk under control? Because the Hulk is uncontrollable anger. He's like, oh, I'm always angry. You're not. You're a really sweet guy, Dr. Banner. Don't be so hard on yourself. Anyway, that line never made any sense to me. Hawkeye's really good at shooting arrows until he runs out of arrows. Oh wait, he can reuse it. All kidding aside, his little arrow switching device is pretty cool. It's a good way to make this character somewhat realistic, which is always a battle in a movie like this. Because the source material is cartoonish, but the medium is super realistic. Sometimes they gotta stretch believability. I don't really mind that, but I appreciate it when it's really done well. The scene where Cap breaks in to rescue a bunch of hostages is really cool. The scene strains reality, but it's logical and it's well done. The scene where Hawkeye shoots a thing behind his back, stop it. You stop it. And stop it with the evil government entity that wants to blow up an American city. That's Hack Writer 101 for upping the stakes a couple notches. Oh, there's a nuclear bomb coming in. Worked in the Iron Giant. On this, it's a hat on a hat. You already got an alien portal in the sky and an invasion with space whales. I like that Iron Man has knee rockets. More cinematic city destruction. I keep seeing this pretty waitress running through the crowd. I feel like there's a casting document somewhere that says normal person. She comes back later in a news report and breathlessly praises Captain America. More city destruction. Loki talks tough. Hulk flaps him around. Puny God. That's an okay line. Somebody says 2 minutes and 30 seconds to detonation. And I actually timed it. It's pretty close in real time. I think it's about 15 seconds off. It doesn't really contribute to the story in any way. I just think it's cool when they do that. Once again, Black Widow figures out how to fix things while the boys are jumping around smashing. Iron Man has a character moment where he realizes that he's a hero, but I mean, I feel like he's been a hero this whole time. He didn't have to put himself in danger in the first place. And there's a half a heartbeat where you think he's dead. Come on, nobody's buying this. Wake up and be snarky, Mr. Starkey. Everybody gets in a good pose. Tony Stark starts working on Avengers Tower for the next movie, and the team goes their separate ways. There's a little teaser in the end credits where they show Thanos' face for the first time, who we won't see again until the next post-credit sequence. He doesn't say anything, but his advisor guy suggests that to continue to fight against the Avengers would be to court death. Which is cool because in the comics, Thanos is literally in love with and wants to marry death. All his plots to murder people are all part of an elaborate scheme to win death's affection, prove his love so they can get married. Anyway, that's the comics. We're talking about the movies. Or at least we were, because now we're at the end.
Anyway, this is my first video. I apologize if the quality's a little janky. It's something I'll try to improve in future videos. And yeah, thanks for watching.